All right, time to talk a little NBA with D-Ray, Darryl Reynolds, 2016 Villanova Wildcats national champion, host of the Process Podcast, where there's been plenty to talk about on the 76ers. Brett Brown yesterday, Ben Simmons today, and we will break it all down with Darryl Reynolds right now on the Boardwalk Honda hotline as he joins us here on the Sports Bash. D-Ray, what's up, my man?
What's going on?
Everything is good, man. All right, let's get into this. We got a lot going on. Brett Brown spoke. Ben Simmons spoke. Glenn Robinson III. There's a lot happening. So everybody's up in arms about this. Brett Brown saying that Joel Embiid is in good shape. Let me ask you something. Does it matter to you what kind of shape Joel Embiid is in?
Absolutely. Absolutely it matters what shape Joel Embiid is in, because I think that is the difference between this team just kind of showing up in, Disney World and playing a couple games and having a first-round exit and really making, some headway. They could. I feel like they could go deep in the playoffs. Stephen A. Smith said it. A bunch of people are saying, like, they're kind of the dark horse that could win. But I feel like a lot of it rides on him being able to get up and down the court and be dominant on both sides, not just out there.
All right, so I asked that question because of this. Obviously, Brett Brown said that he's in the best shape. This is going to be the best shape he's been in since I've coached him. But the part of it that stuck out to me was when he said he needed to. He said, I'm proud of him. He needed to. That kind of sounds to me as if, for the first time, I might put stock into him being in good shape. So Brett has said it. We've heard it a lot. But do you actually believe this time around that we will see a noticeably better fit Joel Embiid?
I do. Me and Bros talked about this on Process, and, we both kind of said it. Listen, it's put up or shut up time. It's at a point where people really don't want to hear about the talking. And I feel like that's why they're doing with Ben Simmons the way they're dealing with that, in the sense of, it's tentative, we're not sure. But for him to definitively come out and say something like Joel Embiid is in the best shape that I've seen him in, this is the best shape y'all going to see him in, I got to believe there's some truth to it. Because everything else is, we'll see this, we'll see that, or all right, we'll try to figure out this, we're going to go for this, or we'll do this with the draft. But for him to come out and straight up just say it, listen, this is what it is, I got to believe, like you said, I got to put some stock into that and thinking it's true.
Is it fair to say, though, because Joel Embiid has been in such bad shape, that him being in the best shape of his life could still technically be bad shape?
His first time being rich as a common man. No, I don't believe that. I don't believe that at all. I feel like him being in great shape, as he says, the best shape that we've seen him in is a different Joel Embiid. I think for so long his skill has kind of carried him, his talent has kind of carried him. But if you add that motor and that bit of edge, and quite frankly, that just comes from being in shape and being able to stay a little more physically sharp throughout the game when the mental kind of wears down, I think that makes a world of difference in his game. I think that is the next step for him. So, like I said, if he said that, I believe it.
Darryl Reynolds is with us, host of the Process Podcast. And, of course, we talked to D-Ray on the NBA here as the Sixers starting to get ready. Brett Brown said there's Team Al, there's Team Joel, and then there's Team both. Essentially, what's the best way to integrate, or maybe not integrate, Al Horford, Joel Embiid? Do you play them together? Do you keep them apart?
I don't like playing them together. Not just with the way the game's going today. I mean, a defensive lineup, sure. A heavy defensive lineup, sure. Al Horford can stretch the floor, so can Joel Embiid, so they seem interchangeable between that 4 and that 5, but whoever's out there with them really has to be able to shoot the ball. You know what I mean? It can't be all three of them on the court. So if you have a lineup where you have Joel Embiid and Al Horford out there, I got to imagine that Josh Richardson, Shake Milton, and I don't know. I don't know if we can have the third player to fill that last spot who can really just put the ball up, because there is no driving lanes. There is no getting downhill off of dribble handoffs because it's clogged up by the two of them. So I like playing them, separate in different spurts of the game.
So we've heard it suggested that you start Shake Milton. He starts games with the offense, gives you leads, and then you utilize Horford later on in games to close games out to kind of, lock down defend. Is that kind of how you would envision it? Get that lead with the offensive lineup and then close games out with Horford and Embiid.
Quite frankly, because they're such a defensive-minded team, I would rather start Matisse Thybulle, come out setting the tone that you guys aren't getting any early buckets, any easy buckets, getting in passing lanes, just really putting that pressure on early. Then you kind of transition to a Shake Milton. For me, Al Horford is a closer. At the end of the day, he did it to us last year when he was on the Boston Celtics. We all remember that inbounds play that he picked off and went the length of the floor down. He gave Joel Embiid fits down the line when they really needed it. His veteran presence means him being on the floor when the game is finishing, not starting. For me.
Go ahead, D-Ray.
No, I said for me. That's just me.
Okay. I do think when it comes to having them play on the court together, it's going to have to be done because if Joel Embiid is going to play 38 minutes, there's no way that Al Horford's only going to play 10. So they are going to have to be utilized together. But you did touch on one thing I want to get into with Matisse Thybulle in the starting lineup. Brett did say that he normally does not trust young guys, and then he brought up Shake's name. So I just thought it was really interesting to say, when it comes to the NBA playoffs, here's your coach saying, I don't really trust young guys normally, and you have Matisse Thybulle. You have Furkan Korkmaz, who is a younger guy. You have Shake Milton. Realistically, Ben is young too, but we obviously know that he trusts him. What do you think about Brett Brown coming out and stating he doesn't really trust these young guys in playoff basketball?
I think he's just saying it because obviously you can't get around it. Like you said, you have several. Even Joel Embiid, quite frankly, like in the grand scheme of things, is a young player. So it's like he really can't get around it. But I get it. Shake Milton was in the G League. He's around a little bit longer. He's a little bit older, but not really. You know what I mean? It's really not the same. I think his experience is a little different. I think he was kind of thrown in the fire offensively. You know, at some more difficult times than Matisse Thybulle, I guess is the best way to put it. But I don't think that they're head and shoulders apart from, you know, their experience. I definitely, like I said, I still stand by it. To me, Matisse Thybulle starting games, it's really about who finishes. Would I have him out there at the end of the game? If he's playing great, yeah, but that's the beauty of a young player. If they go out there and they do great, cool, leave them out there. If they aren't, pull them, and that's when you put in Al Horford or somebody who you know what you're going to get out of them.
What'd you think of the additions of Burke and Glenn Robinson and how they've been used and how they fit in so far, and then kind of how, you know, they should be used going ahead? Do you find that either one of them guys is a valuable rotation guy?
I'm not extremely sold on Glenn Robinson. I do like him. I like his athleticism. I like his ability to guard several positions. I like Alex Burke, though. He seems like a player who can do several things, you know, to a decent level. You know what I mean? He's a good player in the NBA. He's in the NBA. You know what I mean? So at the end of the day, it's like he's good. But I like him. He seems a little more interchangeable than Glenn Robinson. Glenn Robinson seems that true kind of 3-4, you know, type of position, and Alex Burke seems to be able to change. So maybe he's that third player. Maybe Furkan is, but just with it's certain lineups that you can only get so much out of those two.
Yeah, and I was going to ask you about Korkmaz in terms of, is he automatically in your rotation in a playoff setting?
I think because of what he's shown, yes. Because in a way, you kind of know what you're going to get out of him. I think he definitely is. But he's another guy that if he's playing good, cool, leave him in there. If he doesn't, pull him out. You know what I mean? I don't. For me, it's on such a defensive-minded team. If he was a better shooter like a J.J. Redick, then I get it. You take the good with the bad. He can't stay in front of an orange cone, but he's going to make every three we give him. You know what I mean? But with this defensive-minded team, having one guy out of that rotation that's not really good with it, it jams everybody else up, and they got to overwork.
I do agree that Furkan should get some minutes, and he should definitely at least have an opportunity. But I do question if he's going to work due to his size and the game slowing down, and defensively it might get picked apart. So if Furkan doesn't work, what do you think they should do when it comes to spacing the floor? I know people assume right now that Brokoff would maybe slide in because he's a 40% guy, but Brett even said yesterday he was shocked that Brokoff signed here because he told him about the limited amount of time that he could possibly get. So I don't think that he's the simple answer here. Who do you think that they should go with? If Furkan doesn't find a way to play, he's really their only three-point shooter outside of Brokoff.
Yeah. I think at that point you stop depending on the three-point shot. At that point, the Sixers got to just realize, like, yeah, that's what the game is, but our identity is not that. Not right now, you know what I mean? So they have to figure out another way. I still think Elton Brand had it right with the fact that this team was built for the postseason. Defensive-minded teams, defense wins championships. Offense wins games, defense wins championships. And obviously you need some offense, but they might just have to be one of those teams that, at least this year, until they get somebody who can fill that spot and really put that three ball up, or several guys who can do it, this year they might just have to live and die by, like, listen, we don't have to slow the game down. And when we get out in transition, cool, but we got to get back and make other teams play half-court basketball. Because when they do that, it's very hard to score on them just because of how much length is out there, quite frankly.
Darryl Reynolds with us here, NBA, of course, getting ready to restart here in less than a month now. as the Sixers having all sorts of press conferences this week to get us ready. And, of course, we'll continue our NBA conversation and the Sixers as they get ready for that restart in Orlando. And Darryl Reynolds, like all guests, appeared via the Boardwalk Honda hotline. D-Ray, have a good one, pal.
My man. Hold on, real quick. Thanks to whoever put the that championship instrumental in the beginning for me. That was nice. That was nice to hear that. The instrumental in the beginning.
There you go.
Yeah, that was hard.
All right, man.
That was
hard. We're on the ones and twos for you.
My man, thank you.
Darryl Reynolds, of course, 2016 Villanova national champion and host of the Process Podcast, which talks Sixers, of course, every Thursday with us here on the Sports Batch.